Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Working Title. We took last week off because I felt like it, but it worked out great because I put out a post and a lot of people responded, which I'm super excited about. And what we have here today are two people that called each other out kind of in the chat, which made this really easy to book. I'm super excited for it because I know these are two people that really enjoy their music, and they are going in for the Lyrical Challenge, where they each picked a song. You can see here at the bottom of the going that way, at the bottom of the screen, moving around. We have The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel, verse Concerning Charlie Horse by Great Big Sea, which I did have to listen. This is a new one for me, but a lot of fun. These are two very different songs, so let's see how this goes. We are going to bring our competitors in. First up, we're going to bring the one that decided on Simon and Garfunkel song, taking a little bit on the slower side. We have Andrew Barr. How are you doing today, sir?
Really nervous. People know that I write. This time it's something that I haven't already written before. It's ideas, and those are the scariest things to present. So,
oh, it's okay because as I've said before, this is all for fun. This is just going to be entertaining. So get to bring your creativity out a little bit. Don't worry about being nervous, and I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be fun. I know you do a lot in the acting world, so I'm very intrigued to see what you come up with.
This will be my first time presenting something to the Writers Guild of America.
I am obviously the most important part of that, so good luck. And secondly, we have someone coming in bringing Concerning Charlie Horse. This is not about someone having a leg cramp. This is about something else completely by Great Big Sea. Song I've never heard of until I've listened to it recently. It's very entertaining, so I'm very excited to see how this goes. And someone also new to the program, Brooklyn Vale, how are you doing today?
We are doing dandy. So Concerning Charlie Horse, it's like Great Big Sea. They're a big band here, and with this challenge, I kind of wanted to take a song really to kind of to showcase like Canadian and the kind of like East Coast folklore. There's some really good storytelling.
Perfect. So that sounds like a great plan for you to tell me a story coming up here in just a little bit. I should have done this earlier, but I didn't. Barr, since you were on the call first, would you like to pitch first or give your cast first?
I'd like to pitch first.
Oh, this is the first time anyone has ever wanted to pitch first. Okay, so going through the rules here, round number one, which I have dubbed "Hit Me with Your Best Plot." I understand. Yes, it is. It's goofy, it's weird, but it's mine, and I enjoy it. So anyone out there wants to criticize, deal with it. What this plan is you will get 5 minutes to pitch your movie. I will try to be taking notes here. Give me your beginning, middle, end. Give me your twist. Give me your important plot details. And what I will do is I am going to wait until you are ready and you start talking for me to hit my timer. So whenever you are ready to start, your 5 minutes will start.
Let's do this. All right. We open on black. There's heavy breathing, and then layered over that, you suddenly hear short, rapid breaths. And then softly over that, you hear the sound of a small crowd, and then you hear punches landing. Then you see a title card, The Punching Bag. You see 1960 Kearney, Nebraska. Lights come up on Harrison McGuire and Gerald Haddonfield having a small fight with the crowd watching. It is a event for the local farm. They're raising money by having a boxing match. Harrison wins by a decision by the judges. Afterwards, Harrison goes home to find his family playing music with his neighbors. Music is very important to his family. Everyone at least plays an instrument or sings in this family. You cut to the next day. Gerard and Harrison are working on the farm. They're not brothers, they're friends, but they have a very brotherly bond between each other. A man comes up to them and starts making mumbles of promises to the gentleman, basically saying, hey, you come to New York City, you can be a star in the boxing world. Now, Harrison is immediately interested, but Gerard is like very hesitant about it. He sees the mumbles of promises. But Harrison really wants to do it, so he and Gerard both go off to New York City to the poorer area. No more than a boy. Harrison's only like 24, and Gerard is like 29. There they meet two singers, Julio and Cecilia. They are folk musicians. They are the first friends that they ever meet in New York City, and they have a strong connection with each other immediately. However, as time goes by, Gerard decides he's going to cut ties with the management that they have. He doesn't trust them, but Harrison stays with the management company, only to find that next day that he comes in, they've shuttered. It's gone. They've closed. They haven't told him. So Gerard actually starts getting better promotion, starts fighting, and has a big career, while Harrison doesn't really have success. He's going around a job asking only workmen's wages, but he gets no offers. Sadness and loneliness starts to take over. He seeks out the whores on 2nd Avenue. And as the years roll by, changes upon changes, not only does Gerard have a good career and he has already severed ties, but Cecilia and Julia have also started having success. Harrison is having a lot of trouble dealing with the success of everyone around him, and he starts to show resentment towards them, eventually having a feud that causes them to all separate as well. So Harrison starts having troubles. He sells his guitar that he brought with him, and he's laying out his winter clothes, and he doesn't want to go, and he's telling himself that he's not going to go back home. He's not going to go back home, but he's going to go home and face the failure within himself and the failure that he thinks his family's going to have with him. He comes home and he finds that there's a big celebration for him. They're happy that he's back. They're happy that they're finally communicating with him again, and they all have this giant musical festival almost. And the melody that he's been hearing in his head for years that he couldn't remember finally clicks in, and he reconnects with his family. Now he decides he's going to stay, but a few months later, in a clearing when he's practicing his boxing, two men come up and offer him a fight in New York City. And very hesitant at first, after learning of the false promises that the first men have offered him, he says no, but his family encourages him to do so. So he agrees, and he comes to the fight. The day of the fight, he realizes that the man he's facing is his former friend Gerard. So for the first couple rounds, Harrison's not doing well. He's losing, but he hears faintly in the background Julio and Cecilia cheering for him. And he realizes that not only his friends are there that he thought that he had severed ties with, but his family has come all the way from Nebraska to cheer for him. So he's punching, and he's body blow, uppercut. And he hears the music of his family in his head as he's winning. And he knocks Gerard out in a TKO. And as Gerard gets up after the fight is over, he hugs Harrison and he whispers to him, "I told them that you could do it. I told them." And he realizes that Gerard is the one who sent the men in order to give him this chance to redeem himself. And that's what he did. And he cries in Gerard's arms, and credits roll.
Whew! All right. I like it. That was intense. There's a lot of passion behind that, which is always great to hear. Really do appreciate the story. I can see a lot of it. It's had a lot of ties to a lot of the boxing stories coming on, but a little changes here and there. The family, friends, obviously being a very important part of the movie, which is always good. I'm going to be super curious who you have cast in this, because I can see some people possibly in this, but I want to know who you see, so it kind of helps my vision a little bit more. But as you were talking and saying everything, I could picture every little bit of it in my head. So very good pitch, very interesting. Leaves a lot on the table. Brooklyn, now it's your turn. I'm very curious to see what you got for your song. A little bit of a different tune, but whenever you're ready, I will start your 5-minute timer whenever you start talking. You are muted.
That would help. So
I'm sorry, your timer.
Sorry. My movie is called The Big Corral. And this is essentially going to be about a horse named Charlie and Shave the Master. This is going to be set in two times. The first one predominantly it's going to be April 1955, but also going to go back to 1949. It's going to be set in Whitbourne, Newfoundland. And the reason I use 1949 and 1955 is going to be the time where Charlie actually dies, and the seven travel to go give him the proper burial. Whereas 1949, I'm using that as a way to invest in Charlie the horse as well as the seven people. And it's also that time frame is also super significant because World War II had just ended 5 years earlier, and Newfoundland, the province as well, is just joining Canada in government as well and becoming an official province. So there's a lot of talk in the town. So Charlie the horse is essentially he's a beloved horse, and kind of went through the average rotation of a horse, especially in that time. Harness racing is a massive thing here. So the first 3 years, so you start off harness race all throughout the Maritimes, and then after 4 or 5 years age, they transition into other stuff. So they worked on a farm with Shave. But then you also have, and the reason why I picked 1949 and 1955 is because with Canada joining the government, with Newfoundland joining Canada rather, the RCMP are now a part of this, and the RCMP have this big, dance almost, or horse dance called Musical Ride or the Carousel. And anytime that the RCMP are in Newfoundland to do this, they always get Charlie as sort of like this local attraction meant to draw people in, because at this point Charlie's a celebrity. You know, he's raced a bunch, did some farm work, and in sort of this last third of his life, him and Shave have become the male people of the community, despite there being this big auto revolution at the time because of how small the community is in Whitbourne. They still use horse and buggy as a mail system. It's sort of a way to keep the tradition and keep the Celtic vibe there. So how this movie starts, it starts with Charlie dying in Angle Pond. You have to get invested in that character right away. And then, so it's going to go to there, and then it's going to have actually Alan Doyle as a narrator, and it's going to have him say, now we'll spare you all the gruesome details and just relate the end. Gets one of the last verses in there, and it skips over having to show Charlie dying. Then you go to Smiley Stubborn, who is one of the RCMP officers at the time. This is when we gather up all the people. He's the RCMP officer that gathers up Jimmy Clark. Instead of Barracuda Bill, I changed it to Barracuda Blair. They're going to be fishermen in the area. Smiley Stubborn, Johnny Pollock, Sagebrush Sam. Sagebrush Sam is a farmer and literally called Sagebrush Sam because she has sagebrushes in her driveway, hence why they call her Sagebrush. Then there's also Kevin and Buck. I took the liberties of making Buck a dog. So Kevin and Buck are going to be sort of this, they're meant to be like the comedic duo. But the thing about this movie is that when you go from 1949 to 1955, there's an obvious change of like who's playing the older version and who's playing the younger version. So the big thing is that you see Shave the Master as the young like mailman throughout the city, but you're always wondering, who are they going to get to have the old, who they're going to get to be the old Shave the Master, and then that becomes the big reveal in the end whenever they go to rescue Charlie. Now, the thing is, whenever they bring back Charlie to the burial, Shave actually dies in the process. You know, he's an old man. It says Charlie was like a brother to Shave, so you have to really kind of establish that they had this long, enduring connection. And then it ends with them giving them the proper burial. You have this big kitchen party, which really sort of encapsulates the East Coast culture of just how they celebrate death. So whenever somebody dies, it's not so much grieving, but it's more so let's go together, celebrate life, gather around in a circle, really using music as a way to sort of cope with death. It's the great thing about Whitbourne is that in the setting is that it actually passes through Avondale and Briggs geographically in the map, so you have reasons to go there as opposed to just making up a city. And you have such this sort of like ragtag, and it's meant to be like a family sort of periodical piece, and it's meant to really kind of give a showcase on Newfoundland. Newfoundland did get some usage in Broadway plays, but now we're gonna get East Coast Canada in movies and like in the silver screen.
All right, very cool. Definitely taking a lot of the people from the song, enjoying that, taking a lot of the history of Canada, stuff that a lot of people probably are not as familiar with, which is always good. I like the fact that you start later, go back earlier, and kind of show between the two things. I can kind of get an idea where it is a little Nolan-y, but with a family thing instead of just chaos that I'm not going to understand. So it seems like a very solid thing. I'm very also curious about your cast, because always the cast seems to be a very important part of all these movies to really show what you're trying to show in your plot. So both these are very different. They're very good. It really does well with the song as well, which is the most important part of why I did this, is to see how well you stuck with the song. All right, since Barr, you went first in the pitch, we're going to switch that up, and we're going to go into round number 2, which is the casting call, where you are going to give me your cast, a director if you have one, any other important characters or people in your movie. And so, Brooklyn, you're going to go first with this one. You had a lot of characters come in there through the middle, and it seems like you have a couple older and younger ones, so I'm very intrigued to see how you have this planned out.
All right. So first off, we're going to go with the director and writer. So the director is going to be Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner has been one of the greatest in terms of adaptations, and especially like that family sort of coming of age period piece, kind of a blank canvas in terms of like you can give him anything, and he will usually head it out of the park. We're going to bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda as a writer, as well as Alan Doyle, the person who wrote the song, as well as Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer. Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer are two important names because they were part of the writing crew for The Sour Has 22 Minutes, one of the greatest Canadian like sort of satirical news shows. And the thing is with Newfoundland, there's such an importance on dialect, and it's really easy to do a bad Newfoundland impression. So they're also in there as writers and dialect coaches, and that's why you bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda, because there's such like a musical cadence to the Newfoundland dialect, and I think that's one of the draw people in. Now, the 7 people, as well as the narrator, and the big reveal of Shave the Master. So Alan Doyle is going to narrate this. He has had acting work before in Republic of Doyle, and did some bunch of guest cameo work on CBC. We'll start off with Barracuda Blair. That's going to be Catherine Hahn. I think he's going to play well with this really sort of brash, in your face, tell it like it is sort of fisherwoman. Her husband is going to be played by Patrick Ledwell. He's a comedian here from PEI. Really has that accent down and sort of has that sort of tall, lanky characteristic that you would guess. Smiley Stubborn, the RCMP officer who gathers everybody, is going to be Greg Tomey, somebody from Newfoundland who was a veteran of The Sour Has 22 Minutes, joined by Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer. Colin Mockery is going to play old Moose Cooten, and it's funny because he has the old comb, despite Colin Mockery's bit for the last 2 decades as being bald. We're going to have Winston Duke as Johnny Pollock. This is going to be the influx of, like, because you go to Halifax, Nova Scotia, there was a massive influx of African Americans, and that's going to show how some of them migrated up to Newfoundland. And then you have Sagebrush Sham, played by Jennifer Robertson. Sorry. She played one of the side characters in Schitt's Creek. And then you have Kevin and Buck. Kevin is going to be played by John Mulaney, and Buck is going to be played by Molly the dog, because Molly is the greatest dog in the world. And I dare you to argue, Andrew, that Molly is not.
Oh, I've got something else in mind.
All right. I think I may have.
Sorry. One thing I forgot to miss: the big reveal of Shave the Master, and as well as the sort of the younger cast. The younger cast is going to be entirely locals. There's no sense in trying to get kid actors to try to do Newfoundland. You like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just do that. The big reveal of Shave the Master is actually going to be Rick Moranis. I brought Rick Moranis in because Shave the Master needs to be this patient person in terms of just like, you have this horse that went through so much, and you go into this sort of this small community where it doesn't make sense for somebody to go crazy. You know, it's a very sort of like easy way of living in that sense. But yeah, I think that's it that I have for cast. I kind of picked everybody as a mix of like locals and people that can also that have a little bit of star power, but they're kind of take away from everything. They could be these great supporters.
All right. I get the director definitely good with the family style. I wasn't sure about Lin-Manuel Miranda at first as a writer, but then when you told me that the dialect is more musical, that does make a little more sense, a little bit of a potential for all the other actors to kind of get that tone, that kind of beat to the wording as you go through it. I like a lot of these. Obviously, some of these I'm not as familiar with, more of the Canadian actors, but it always makes sense to have people that have that natural accent so that other people can kind of work off that. Love Catherine Hahn. I mean, she's great in everything she does. And Rick Moranis, I mean, you can get him back into a theater. You can get back him onto a movie. I'm in. Just off the bat, he's great. Would be fantastic. I like a lot of this. Do me one favor. Can you repeat who Smiley Stubborn was? I kind of missed that one.
Smiley Stubborn is Greg Tomey. He was a fellow cast member of This Hour's 22 Minutes.
Okay.
Sort of this bigger fella, meant to be sort of like a Cletus from Dukes of Hazzard.
All right, that makes perfect sense. All right, I like it. I can see a lot of this. I like the director. I like where you're going with it. I like how you have the narrator being the person that basically sung the song. It makes perfect sense. Why would you not? Why would you do something different? Yeah. Excellent. I like it. It all fits together well. Barr, enlighten me. Who do you have in this film of yours?
Well, this movie is going to be written and directed by Scott Cooper. Scott Cooper is the director and writer of movies such as Hostiles and Crazy Heart. I think this would be a good opportunity for him to blend that rootsiness that this story has, combined with like the love of music that the family has. Now for my cast, for Harrison, the main character, I have Lucas Hedges. Because as they say in the song, he's a young boy, so like Lucas Hedges is about 25. So to the world, he's still pretty young. But he's also got a good build. He's got a good height for like the lightweight area of boxing. But if he wanted to as well, he could probably bulk up and really have that physique that would really work for this character. Okay. For his friend Gerard, I actually casted a relative unknown. His name is Alex McNichol. He's been relatively a character actor for films like The Fifth Wave and the Valley Girl remake. He was a recurring character on the show Transparent. Once again, good build, good body type, and he kind of has that like that charm, like that Midwest charm to him that he carries. He also has a really good screen presence. I think he just needs the right opportunity to really break out, and I think this would be the role for him to do that. So I have Julio and Cecilia. I casted Skylar Grisondo as Julio. I needed somebody who was relatively young, but also was able to play guitar, which Skylar Grisondo can do. And once again, he's one of those people that I think is really talented. And aside from book smart, he hasn't really had an opportunity to showcase his talents. So I think this would be the right opportunity. And I'm actually going to pair him with his book smart counterpart, Caitlin Deaver, as Cecilia. She's just an incredibly talented actress. Plus, she's actually a pretty good singer. She actually does sing the kind of songs that she does is actually very folksy. So it's very fit for the time period and the style that we're going for. But once again, she's Academy Award winner in the waiting. She's amazing. For the parents, for Harrison's parents, I actually have Hugh Lowry, who is also a very skilled guitar player, a very good musician, but he's also a very talented dramatic actor if you've seen him in House and any other things that he's been in. And for his mom, I have Juliette Lewis, who is a musician, and the two of them also have facial features that are close enough to Lucas Hedges that you can pull off that they could possibly be their parents. Okay. Oh, and for the music, I'm gonna have I am blanking on the dude's name, John Carney. John Carney actually take up the head of the music department for this. John Carney being the director of movies such as Once and Begin Again and Sing Street. So the music element will be under his watch.
Okay, awesome. I like a lot of the cast. The director does make sense once you explain to me what he did, because I do know Crazy Heart, and I'm a big fan of that movie. Kind of going a little bit off, like a little outside of the norm with the cast, which is good. You try to bring some people in, some people I haven't heard of too much or haven't been in too much. I'd like the parents, Hugh Laurie and Juliette Lewis. They make sense. I like them as actors and actresses. I think that would be good. And, if you have two people that work well in a movie together, why break them up? So using the Booksmart stuff makes perfect sense. And we talk about the music. I've seen a lot of those other movies, and the music is excellent in all of them. So that works. All right. I have your cast. I have your pitches. Now I get to sit back and watch the chaos reign, because the next round is what I call the comment section. Because have you been on Facebook or on YouTube that where everything sucks is the comment section. That's where people like to bring people down, but also bring people up. So this is your chance. I want you to tell me why your movie is better than the other. If you want to give a compliment, feel free to give a compliment, or you can wait until after you're done ripping it apart and I make my decision, and you can compliment each other all you want. But I'm just going to sit back here. I'm going to let you two talk. Do whatever you need to do. And if it starts getting repetitive, then I'll put a stop to it and give you guys a 30-second closing argument. So whenever you feel like you want to start, go for it. And I'll just be here taking it in.
You can go first.
Okay. First of all, Rob Reiner is not a good director anymore. He was a really good director in the 90s. His last great movie was probably The American President, which was 1995. Ever since then, it's been either bad or schlock. And I do not want a movie that is either bad or schlock right now. Also, why on earth you have Lin-Manuel Miranda doing the dialogue for a movie when he is easily one of the most talented musicians, like musical minds out there? You are basically locking him into not using the music part of his talents, which is what he's the most known for.
Because writing Newfoundland dialogue is like writing a song. There's such a
people just from Newfoundland,
and there's such a cadence. Don't interrupt me. Let me talk. That is why I also have Alan Doyle. That is why I also have Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer. I'm not going to go into your cast or whatever, because that's essentially arguing hypotheticals at this point. My problem with your movie is that you are taking one of the strongest verses in the clearing stance a boxer and a fighter by his trade, and you can tell whenever Simon and Garfunkel are playing that you get the anger from the boxer in that. You are wasting that whenever you're using in the clearing stance a boxer and a fighter as these two characters that are just being introduced into the movie. That moment in the song is really meant as sort of like the boxer as the phoenix rising up. That's what it should be used as in the movie, not as a way to sort of introduce in characters and open a door that he should be able to open himself at this point in the movie.
Well, but because at that moment he still feels like a failure to himself, and he's still carrying the weight of all those years of failure, and it's just eating him up inside. Yes, he's happy that like his family still accepts him, but inside to himself, he still wants a chance to prove himself. And these two men coming in because Gerard sent them, that's his chance at redemption. And it is the moment that he finally has to prove to himself that he still does have that fire in him.
So why does he need two men to tell him that he can do it? Why not have it built up as this lone person? Especially when you come in from the verse, well, I'm laying out in my winter clothes and wishing I was home, going home, where the New York City winters aren't leading me going home. There's such an isolation, and then for it to sort of take these two characters and just kind of like almost like saviorism in a way, where it's like, here, let me pick you up, and well, we're the MacGuffin to sort of make this all better. Why not have him climb out of that himself?
Because Gerard is the one who sent those two men, and it's that friendship that they had that is still there, that he didn't realize is still there. And it's that moment when he realizes that Gerard is the one who sent him, that he realizes that bond and that friendship was never lost at all. It's not a MacGuffin. It's Gerard actually finally having opportunity to finally send people to be like, hey, look at this guy, he's really good. As with yours, your movie, I can't tell what the tone is. I can't tell if it's supposed to be like this kind of lighthearted movie or if it's supposed to be like this Old Yeller kind of story.
It is supposed to be a lighthearted movie. Again, the Newfoundland culture. It's such a warm and hospitalic sort of vibe that you were instantly set. Like the tone of this right away, especially with the ending of this movie, because they reference Charlie giving them a nod because they know that they did it right. That is why I bring in Rob Reiner to tie in sort of that fantastical element that a lot of directors have whiffed in the past. Christopher Nolan being one of them. In terms of Gerard adding in the fighters, I think the boxer is such a personal thing where it's like sending somebody, I think, just for me doesn't make sense. And I understand that sounds repetitive and whatnot, but there's something about the rise, and similar to how a boxer gets knocked down, it's not other people that help them up, it's the boxer himself. The other thing that I will say is that boxing movies that aren't based on real boxers do not do well. I considered doing this with Muhammad Ali and Shinya Aoki whenever that was sort of the big MMA crossover, but it just couldn't work. So I think that's another sort of gripe to use.
But once again, for my point, what I'm saying is that it's the drive in Harrison that is the moment. It's not the fact that he's not handed this opportunity. He's given a chance to prove himself is what's happening. And he is the one who has to find the drive and the heart within himself in order to do so. And with your movie, I like, so we're skipping through timelines, and there's like sad elements and heart and like lighthearted elements. You have Colin Mockery, who's supposed to be there throwing jokes, but and there's Rick Moranis, but then there's this whole auto industry thing, and there's a lot of things going on in this movie, and I don't know how you're going to fit that all into one solid movie.
Absolutely. No, the auto industry thing is just more so to describe the time frame and why they still use horses as a mail system, as a way to sort of keep tradition. There is going to be an element of sadness there because we are talking about death, but I think I did a pretty good job describing the overall tone of how people celebrate death and how people use music to sort of cope and sort of bond together in a way, and especially celebrating the life of even a horse. Again, referencing that line, Charlie was like a brother to shave, and there are so many times where sort of animals and humans has been butchered so many times in terms of like writing a connection. These are often left as B movies rather. Why not give them the star writing of Lin-Manuel Miranda? Bring in acclaimed local talent like Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer, so that you can get something that has been deemed so hard by a lot of people in Canadian media and do a proper Newfoundland movie.
I would say that you don't even need Lin-Manuel Miranda for that. You're wasting his talents by adding him when you already have Newfoundland writers that should be able to capture this dialogue. Also, you talked about that you're going to have local kid actors for this. First of all, that's a real dangerous move because the great W.C. Fields says the two things that you should never act alongside are animals and kids. And you have both of these in your movies. And not only that, they're local. So we don't know if they have any talents. We don't know if there's a Jacob Tremblay or a Caitlin Deaver in there. They could just be bad.
And as my great-grandfather used to say, wish in one hand, shit in the other. Old people say weird things sometimes. Again, like I said, Newfoundland dialect is such a hard thing that getting in kid actors that are known commodities is a waste of time. You may as well get an already growing and developing Newfoundland culture there in terms of food, agriculture, and theater, and you really get a sense of how Newfoundland is such a special place. And that it can be this warming spot, and that despite the sadness that they have in the community whenever they lose Charlie, and that you can still celebrate life, and you can still be sad, you can still be melancholic, but yes, be joyous moving forward.
See, what I'm trying to understand is the tone between the song and the movie. Because the song is very raucous, it's rowdy, it's got a goofy like little clip clop thing with like a cowbell, and you're using words like melancholy, and it just doesn't seem to fit with me.
Because I'm not matching. That's an artistic liberty. I'm not using the tone of the song to match the tone of the movie. If I was using the tone of the song, this would just be like a western from 1960s based in Texas. That they're just like, all right, we're gonna go from point A to point B, not stop anywhere, and just go somewhere. With again the period of the late 40s, early 50s, you have a time frame where Newfoundland is going from British power to Canadian power. Some people are for it, some are against it. You have this big RCMP force coming in, but then you realize that they are really just here to perform and entertain with the carousel and the musical ride and whatnot. Yeah.
I'd also like to bring up something you said about my movie, about how movies that are about like fictional boxers don't ever tend to do well. It's because they tend to rip off the Rocky formula. Rocky is the ultimate when it comes to that. But what I'm adding different elements to mine. I'm adding that music element, which according to Aristotle's Poetics is a very important topic for storytelling. It is a very important tool. And also it's the whole element of, it is that family element, but I'm putting a different spin on it, where it's not the family being there for you in the moment. It's the family always being there for you, even when you don't realize that they are. He's separated from them for a long time. And because of that, he feels like that self-doubt, and he feels like he's letting everyone down. But when he comes home and realizes that everyone's still like rooting for him, it's this uplifting moment, and there's joy and celebration and music. And with yours, I just feel like it's a down climb. Like, yes, everything's like cheery and like hope and like fun to begin with, but then as like the auto industry, and it's sort of without the uptick at the end.
Okay, so again, auto industry thing was
muted. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, again, auto industry thing was to describe the atmosphere. We're doing that descent in tone again. That helps with the reveal of Rick Moranis, and whenever those two die, like that has to be a sad moment. You can't sort of lift and then be like, yeah, they die. Personal preference, and I think others have as well. When you're going in this route, people prefer that steady decline, because it almost works as a reverse windup, where it's like, the sad part is going to come, and then when it finally comes, it's sort of this big release. Inside Out does a similar thing, I thought.
Okay, but here's my other thing, and it's Rob Reiner again.
Yep.
Rob Reiner was able to do that in the late 80s, early 90s. After American President, from the 21st century on, I don't see any of his movies really doing something like that, and something like that successfully. Whereas with Scott Cooper, he's got Crazy Heart, where he has those musical elements, but he also has that like deep-rooted Americana and that kind of sadness and melancholy. He also has Hostels, where he can capture that Western like atmosphere so beautifully. And I think this is his chance to actually show people. And he also has Out of the Furnace, where you've got like this deep grittiness to it, which the New York City of 1960 has. So I think my directing decision is a stronger decision than yours.
So the reason that I picked Rob Reiner for mine is, you look at his films, you look at like Stand By Me, A Few Good Men. You look at like even movies that he's been in or been a part of, the Wolf of Wall Street, or even A Princess Bride. Even very heavy dialogue in terms of niche almost in a way. And Rob Reiner is very quick-witted, very similar to Jon Favreau. If you're going to argue, well, why did you pick Jon Favreau? Because Jon Favreau has done more crap in terms of family style. Rob Reiner is the better family director, but I think that's why you have the local talent in there as well, because you have people that And the reason, and the point that you brought up, you're like, why do you bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda when you already have Alan Doyle, Mary Walsh, and Rick Mercer? Because none of them have silver screen experience. They've done TV shows and they've done TV movies, but in terms of translating what they think is good onto an actual movie, that is why you are bringing in somebody like LMM that has that rhythmic cadence. And again, the last point that I'll bring up, I feel like the boxing element of your movie is almost an afterthought. I think with My Song, you can go top to bottom, go almost line by line where things happen, and it still keeps music as this sort of underbelly and as a way to sort of cope with the sadness, but also celebrate.
Well, I've never said that he ever stopped boxing. It's just that it's because that he doesn't have that the backing and the confidence within himself. It's just he's never able to rise again. So it's not that the boxing takes a back seat. It's just that it doesn't become a success for him until the end. And I will say that people have had success writing things before without the help of Hollywood insiders before when it comes to successfully writing things. So you don't need Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're just wasting his talent by just making him do dialogue. Like if it was a rhyming cadence throughout the entire movie, that would be a good pick. But it's just dialogue from the area, and you have people to do that, and so he's kind of wasted.
All right, I feel like we're getting very similar here. We've talked about a couple of these numerous times. I kind of got both ideas. I have a few ideas of my own that I feel like maybe someone hit on, or maybe I understand where you're coming from that the other person might not. So I'm going to give each of you about 30 seconds. I'm not timing it, just kind of a quick, hey, here's why my movie's better. Barr, I'm going to start with you. Quick 30 seconds, final thoughts. Go ahead.
So with my movie, you were getting elements of so many different things into one movie. You got the music element, you got the sports element, you got the drama element, you got the period timepiece element that people are really drawn to, especially the 60s. People really like movies about the 60s. Just look at Inside Llewyn Davis and things like that. You have a up-and-coming cast that is going to be completely refreshing because people are kind of getting tired of seeing the movie star movies. So this is going to be a chance for younger people and new faces to thrive and show their talent that we already know that they have proven to have. And it's a chance that it's a really grounded movie that the American people will not only be able to click with, but people around the world will be able to click with that whole search for your inner self while trying to find the success that you think that you want and are able to achieve with the help of your friends and family, even if you don't know that they're the ones helping you. It's a very universal story that can be very well told. It is a story that could easily be nominated for a bunch of awards if done correctly. And I think I have the people to do that.
All right. Brooklyn, final statements?
Yeah. So I don't want to watch another 1960s New York boxing movie. I want to watch a movie about Newfoundland and the progression of government and how they come into the country. You see the time frame of that with Charlie the horse in terms of his racing, his work in the RCMP with the musical Ride to Carousel, farm work, and then ultimately his work as a male horse or whatever. You then have the ensemble feature. Rob Reiner is essentially doing the backbones of Stand By Me with these different flares of in the beginning and the end and whatnot. Newfoundland is an incredible thing. People sort of drew to Eurovision in that Nordic style. If you loved that setting, then you will love The Big Corral.
All right. Oh, sorry, my computer is doing weird stuff. Both of these are great. I'm actually very impressed by both of these movies. They're very different, and they still have their similar elements as well. There's a lot of family in these. I'm very intrigued, and as always, I've never this is the kind of show that I come on, and I never have an easy choice. For the critic's choice, because guess who's the critic? It's me. And guess who watches really bad movies? Also me. So I just make a decision who I feel like, and then we'll see what the poll says later.
You're the most critical person I know, Anthony.
Don't know how to take that. You're losing now because you just said that. All right. So a lot of what you guys said in round 3, I get. The Rob Reiner might not have done anything good recently, but if he can go back to that, what he did before, that movie does work really well. The Scott Cooper is a great director. A lot of those movies you mentioned, I really enjoy. A lot of good stuff. Like you said, you felt like this movie started on a high note, kind of went down. But the way Brooklyn described it, I felt like there's a melancholy element at the end because of the death, but also they're celebrating life. I'm picturing it more kind of like what you would see in like an Irish funeral is how it would be described,
Exactly.
where it's a lot of fun. They're enjoying it. They're celebrating the life that was there. So I understood that reference. Yes, a 1960s boxing movie has been done, but the way I'm looking at yours, I'm seeing a lot more elements in The Farm. I'm seeing a lot more family elements in a lot of the boxing movies. Almost like the boxing is not the star element, the family is the star element, which I do appreciate about that movie because that's more important than making boxing the star element of that movie. So I just said a lot. Also, I believe this is the most references from people that are not alive anymore, quotes from the Plato or Aristotle, or whoever you said, and Fields or whatever.
Read Aristotle's Poetics.
I'm not going to do that, but I appreciate the quote. Anyway, so in the end, my decision, like I said before, both these movies are very good. They're very interesting songs. I'm actually kind of glad you introduced me to Concerning Charlie Horse. I enjoyed it. The song was a lot of fun. In the end, by a slim margin, I am just going to go with Barr because I feel like he just Brooklyn, your idea is really good. Barr had a little bit more of those middle elements in his pitch that I understood a little bit more. You kind of had more of that beginning and end. I kind of missed out on a couple maybe middle parts that would have made that movie go over the top for me. But both great pitches, both very entertaining. You guys did a great job, especially in that round 3 of just going back and forth. You had great ideas. It was a very intelligent round 3. That was what I'm going to call one of the intelligent ones that we had on this. That's
not something I've usually called.
Well, I'm trying to be nice here, even though you called me critical. So anyway, that's the end of this show. Brooklyn, did you enjoy this? You want to come back on? Any other topics that might suit your fancy that you saw on?
Anything music related, you can get me on almost anytime. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with this.
Perfect. Do you have anything to plug? Because we always allow plugs on here. So please.
Yeah. I have a music podcast with Andrew, Jukebox Playlist, weekly every Monday. As of recording this, the next episode going up on Monday is actually Andrew's episode, Mariana Stretch. So be sure to check that out Monday morning, and then Miscellaneous as well. Final Mound Part 2 is going to be coming up.
Oh, excellent. Yes, Miscellaneous, very fun unless your partner leaves you at the last second.
Hey.
Speaking of partners that leave you, God
damn it.
Did you have a good time on this? Or were there any other of the topics that maybe another interesting one that you would be down?
My anxiety is up to here right now. I'm not going to lie. I thought I lost. Brooklyn did a fantastic job. I actually kind of really want to see that movie. Yeah, but everything that Brooklyn said, Miscellaneous, the Jukebox Playlist, I get to host that episode. It is actually a really fun episode. Even if you don't know the music of Mariana's Trench, we have a lot of fun, and we hope that you do too. But yeah. Oh, and this show, this guy right here. Keep watching this show.
I appreciate that. Thank you for pitching my show while on my show. That is the best way to pitch it.
I'm super smart.
We'll go with that. So this has been a great one. This was a very entertaining show. Please, if anyone is out there that wants to try this, hit me up. There's a post on the opening night trivia page with all the options. Put something on there. Let me know what you want to try. I'll get you on here. This requires 0 movie trivia knowledge. You can know literally nothing about movies and still be on this show because it is just for fun. So please check out all the other stuff. We have a championship match coming up here on Open Night Trivia League, which is straight fire. We have a lot of the rookies coming up, all sorts of stuff happening on here. Please go to Feature Presentation Productions. They got a Maelstrom going on this Saturday for Disney. If you are a fan of the mouse, That will be certainly fun. And obviously, my wife and Aaron have Digesting Cinema podcast every Sunday, or I think it comes out on Tuesday. They do it on Sunday. But please check that out for her sake and Aaron's sake. Anyway, for myself, for Andrew, for Brooklyn, thank you for checking us out. And until next week, we'll see.